All right, we welcome in OU men's gymnastics coach Mark Williams to the Diamond Envy podcast. First time guest, Mark Williams. And if you don't know the story, you should, because Mark did one of the more epic things that I've ever heard of in sports. 6 years ago, Saturday was the 6-year anniversary. Both the OU men and the OU women's were in the NCAA championships, and no other program had ever won both the men's and women's in the same year. Mark texted KJ Kindler, OU women's gymnastics coach, and said, "Let's go make history," and they did. Mark, that's amazing. First off, is that true? And can you give us a little bit more insight on that text that you sent, what she responded, and how the rest of the day was after you both won a title?
Both of us had really good teams that year, and it was something that had never been done before, where both men and women's gymnastics teams had won at the same time. And, the fact that we were both going basically on the same day, that afternoon, I just got to thinking about it. And I was like, I'm going to talk to KJ and say, let's just do this, man. Because it's been coming, her program had won and my program had won. And we were just at a place where it was kind of time to make that step. And I don't think I was making anything that was a bold prediction or anything. I just was sort of like matter of factly, let's get this job done.
Well, you're a few days removed from your second place finish at the NCAA championships. Now that you've had a few days to kind of think of on the season, what are your general overall thoughts on this season and what your team was able to accomplish?
Well, there's some years that, second place feels like a disappointment where, you have a great team and you train all year for a national championship. In 2019, we probably had that team where we were trying to win our fifth national championship in a row. And Stanford, they were a bit of an underdog and they kind of upset us in the finals. So that second was devastating. And this one wasn't. This one felt like a victory for us. Stanford's been the dominant team this year. We were hosting the championships. In prelims, I was being a little cautious to not overuse the guys that were going to do the all-around. And we didn't have a particularly good night on Friday. And Saturday was letting it all out, just doing what we could do, trying to hit 100%, being as clean as possible. And we got the crowd behind us. We got momentum. It was a fun night. Guys were cheering like crazy. It was dramatic. We stayed a 10th ahead of Michigan to stay in second place as a runner-up. And Stanford kind of ran away with things. So we did as well as we could do. So it was definitely the kind of year that I felt like we achieved as much as we could.
I like to ask this question. It's one thing to get to the top of the mountain, but staying there for a long period of time is a totally different thing. Patty Gasso has done that, and I've asked several people why she's been able to stay at the top of the mountain. Mark, you're the perfect person to ask because you've done exactly the same thing. You've been at the top of the mountain for so long, and consistently you're there year in and year out. What traits does it take from you as a head coach? What does your program have to have? The softball program, women's gymnastics, men's gymnastics. How do you stay at the top year after year and there's seemingly not a big dip?
Well, I think that you have to start with being able to bring in athletes who really are willing to follow the vision that the head coach has. And, one of the things that has been important to me is that from 1999, when I got to be the interim head coach and had the opportunity to run things, I just wanted to do it so that I was creating good gymnastics, that we were having teams that I was proud of putting on the floor. And sometimes it wasn't just about winning. It was about just the method, the training, the progress, having a plan, following through on the plan. Apparently my dogs think that.
Yeah, they're ready for next year. I can tell. They're fired up.
But, it's consistency too. You have to follow the plan even when it's difficult. And you've got to continue to recruit and bring in athletes who are willing to work hard, guys that have talent that, they understand that not every day is going to be fun in the gym. So, you have to be that guy that sometimes isn't their best friend too. We have a hard workout today, and this is what my expectations are, and this is how we're going to have to achieve the goal that we set at the beginning of the season. So it's kind of important that you're just always on a schedule, that from one day to the next, 1 week to the next, and even one season to the next, what you plan on doing at each practice and how you're going to get to the goals you set out to achieve at the beginning of the season.
Do you remember the first time you met Patty Gasso? And if you do, what do you remember from that interaction?
As the head coach, I think I met her, 20 some years ago, probably. And I also her assistant coach used to live in the neighborhood I live in. So, we had kids that are about the same age. So Patty was over quite a few times, kind of on social visits. So I got to talk to her away from OU a few times. And, it struck me that we weren't very different. We had some of the same conversations about what we have to do with our teams, how difficult it is to be the administrator that has to run all points of, various parts of your program, the frustrations of recruiting and, just the ins and outs of having to be a head coach. And, I don't think that we're very dissimilar in terms of how we view, what we do with our teams.
Sure. If I had to ask you maybe one thing you think that makes her great, probably, in my opinion, the best in her sport, what is the one thing that makes Patty Gasso such a legendary coach when it comes to the sport of softball?
I don't know that there's one thing, but I can definitely see that she's in charge, and she puts her stamp on every team that she coaches. And, when she stands up and talks to her team, which I've actually gone over and thrown out the first pitch a couple times at a softball game, which was a thrill for me. But, everything was kind of evolving around her and through her. And there's definitely a presence about, we've done these things in practice. Now we're in a game situation and we're here to execute. And she's not particularly tolerant of deviating from sort of the plan that she has and how she wants things done. And I think as a leader, you have to be very good about communicating what that is, so that, you can praise them when they're doing it. And you also can get down on them when it's not what you want.
What's more nerve-wracking, going into the final rotation of a championship with the chance to win a national title, or walking out in front of about 2,000 people at a softball game getting ready to throw out a first pitch?
Hey, if I had thrown the first pitch into the stands, it would have been funny, and I would have enjoyed that just as much as just being out there. But yeah, for sure, being in a national championship situation is more difficult. At the very end of a season, you sort of lose the control that you had when you were practicing. And for Patty, I'm sure she's hit a lot of ground balls and had them do a lot of plays on the field. But when you're in a championship game, that all that practice has to pay off and show up when it matters. And the same way for us, we go into that last event, it has to be like what we've trained and done for so many hours in our gym for it to be a success.
Well, we need to get you out to the new Loves Field and throw out another first pitch. First year of that stadium.
Actually right next to our gym. So
yeah.
We're hoping to get a little bit of a renovation as the softball facility is built, and upgrade our locker rooms and training rooms and team room and everything else, and have it sort of match the environment of New Loves Field, which will be right next to us.
Last question I have, and this is very general, but what's it like to be a national title winning head coach at OU. And I know that you're not the only one there now. It seems like everyone on campus has won a national championship at, either at OU or at another place. But what's that feeling like, being able to walk around and be able to claim as many titles as you have?
Well, I don't know. I mean, when I got to be a head coach, Bob Stoops had been hired, and Patty wins the national championship, and then Bob wins the national championship, and I'm sort of like, hey, if anybody's even going to notice what men's gymnastics is even on campus, I guess we're going to have to do the same thing just to keep up. So, I feel like there's certainly a little bit of pressure to be able to do what some of these other great coaches we've had on campus have done over and over again. And, I've now won 9 national championships as a head coach and been at OU for 33 years. And I don't know. I mean, as an assistant coach, I was happy to be here doing what I love to do. And now that I've won championships, I'm not sure that it feels a whole lot different. I'm still showing up to work every day and still have to deal with some of the problems that we deal with to make our team successful. But yeah, it definitely feels better to have won than not. So
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Awesome stuff. He's OU men's gymnastics coach, Mark Williams. Mark, congratulations on a great year this year, and best of luck in the future, because I know I speak for everyone. I know that even better days are ahead for OU men's gymnastics, but thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed being on. Sorry about my dogs going crazy.
No, we loved it. No, we love an audience for sure. Thanks again, Mark.
All right. Take care.